these daffodils we picked from our backyard. And every time I look at the daffodils in the spring, they remind me of Jan's grandparents. We have planted hundreds of bulbs in the backyard because when her grandparents were still living, their yard was just a field of yellow. And it's sentimental to us. Have you ever had someone that you love dearly, you wish you could have that one more conversation? My dad's in heaven, and I think about him every day. Wish I could have one more conversation. It reminds me a little bit of a conversation that Elijah and Elisha have in 2 Kings chapter 2. The prophet Elijah is about to be taken into heaven. His replacement is Elisha, and the two of them have been together probably about 10 years now. Elisha is an apprentice. Elijah is his mentor, and the time has come for Elijah to go to heaven, and he knows it. God has told him. And Elisha knows it as well, and so they're walking together, they're having a conversation. Elijah says, I'm going to Bethel. You can stay here. Elisha said, no, I'm coming with you. And then Elijah said, now I'm going to Jericho. You could stay here. Elisha said, no, I'm coming with you. And then Elijah said, I'm going to the Jordan River. And you could stay here. Elisha says, no, I'm coming with you. He's about to be taken to heaven. Their opportunity to talk, to be together is limited. And maybe right now you're thinking about somebody. I am. And all of us will go to heaven one day. And as long as you have a loved one in your life, you should cherish that. You should spend as much time with them as you can. Be like Elisha and say, I'm staying with you. I'm having a conversation. And maybe you're thinking about someone as well, because one day you'll only have flowers to remember them. So while they're with you, you should cherish that time. What happens when they get to the Jordan River? Well, Elijah the prophet, in verse 8, it says he took his cloak and he struck the water, and the Jordan River divided. To the left and to the right, the water separated like there's a wall of water on either side, and they walked to the other side on dry ground. I've always wondered if you could walk through and just see fish. I like to fish. Just reach out and grab one. But they weren't thinking about fish at this moment. Elisha knew the time was soon when Elijah would be taken. And when they get to the other side, in verse 9, Elijah said, tell me, what can I do for you before I'm taken? And Elisha said, I'd like to have a double portion of your spirit. That's a good thing to ask. He didn't ask for riches or wealth. He said, I want God to use me. I want a double portion of the spirit that you possess. And Elijah said, if you see me when I'm taken to heaven, then the request will be yours. They're walking along, and suddenly in verse 11 it says, a chariot of fire and horses of fire suddenly appeared and separated the two of them, and Elijah was taken up to heaven in a whirlwind. Elijah is one of only two people in the Bible to go to heaven without dying. The first was Enoch, and the second is Elijah. God just took him. So what happens with Elisha? Well, Elijah's cloak had fallen to the ground. So Elisha picks it up and he goes back to the Jordan River, which is now no longer divided. And he's on the wrong side of the Jordan. So he takes the cloak, Elijah's cloak. In verse 14 he says, where now is the God of Elijah? And he touched the water and it divided to the right and to the left. And he passed through. The Spirit of the Lord was now resting on Elisha. Never limit what God can do through you. I like that Elisha said, here's what I want a double portion. And he sees God do through him exactly what he did with Elijah. The Jordan River split. You can do more than you think you can. The Spirit of God indwells you. If you're a believer, you don't have to ask somebody else to give you a double portion. You have the Spirit of God. And if you have the Spirit of God, God wants to use you and even do miraculous things with your life. And a final thought about Elijah going to heaven without ever dying. I told you only two people, Enoch and Elijah, have gone to heaven without dying first. But one day it's going to happen again. It may happen to you. It may happen to me. What happened with Elijah going up into heaven in a whirlwind, it's going to happen one day when Jesus comes again. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 said the Lord will return with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and we will be caught up. The Greek word is harpazo. The Latin word is rapia. That's where you get the word rapture. We'll be raptured up. And we'll be taken to heaven. And we'll be with the Lord forever. If Jesus comes in our lifetime, like Elijah, we won't die. We'll just go from this life to that life in heaven to be with him forever. Are you ready? Could be today. Why don't we live every day as if it was today? Because it might be. Thanks for listening. Have a blessed day.